Hey, welcome to Healthy Hearing Loss. My name is Dee Dee. Today we're going to be talking about a stethoscope that can connect and stream to our hearing aids. So if you're interested in that, stay tuned. Now, in my profession, I've always used a Littmann brand of a stethoscope. And I was curious because I wanted to see how many stethoscopes are out there these days. So I went back onto the Littmann Stethoscope website. I looked at all the brands they have. So they have these like main categories, and then there's different stethoscopes within those categories. First stethoscope is a digital stethoscope, which has the core digital stethoscope. And then we have the other category, which is cardiology. And some of them in that category is a master cardiology stethoscope and cardiology 4 stethoscope. They have a classic category, and this has the master's classic 2 stethoscope, a classic 3 stethoscope, a classic 2 pediatric and infant stethoscope. And then the last one I see here is the lightweight. This is the Lightweight 2 SE stethoscope. This particular video is going to be talking about the core digital stethoscope. And the reason I want to talk about that is because with hearing loss, you need a digital stethoscope to be able to connect it to your hearing aid. There are 2 ways to do this, one through your T-coil and one through the Bluetooth. I'm going to cover the T-coil first and get kind of my setup and show you what I do in order to hear directly to my hearing aid. And then a little bit later, I will talk about the Bluetooth connectivity. All right, let's get to it. T-coil. With the T-coil in your hearing aids that does not have Bluetooth technology, I have the Phonak Cross 2, which has a hearing aid and a transmitter. This does not have Bluetooth connectivity in it or a technology in it. So if you have a hearing aid that does not have Bluetooth, then this is the part of the video that you want to watch. So the first thing you need to do is to collect a couple of things before we get into this section. First thing is you want to be able to get your hearing aids. You want to be able to have your phone available. You want to have your streamer available. And you also want to have your stethoscope if you bought the core stethoscope. Now, this core stethoscope is about $349. If you do not have the money or the budget to buy a $349 stethoscope, there is another option, and that is called the echo attachment. It's just the body part of the stethoscope. I'll show you here what it looks like. This is all it is. It comes like this, has just the body, and it says echo on it. Echo attachment, you can use it with an old stethoscope. The core stethoscope itself has the body, but it says core on it. And there's really no difference between the 2 bodies. They have different serial numbers on it. Other than that, they're the exact same thing. We're going to be focusing on the Littmann core stethoscope. There's one thing that you need to know about this core stethoscope is that when it comes out of the box, here it is. It's a beautiful stethoscope. It's shiny in some parts, and it's heavy, and it's a pretty nice looking black stethoscope. I think they have one that has rainbow in it now too, but voila. The reason I want to talk about the stethoscope itself, when it comes out of the box, anybody with normal hearing or very mild hearing loss can just use this as a regular traditional stethoscope without using the digital part of it. So that's called the analog. When you don't put any kind of digital technology to it, it becomes an analog, a traditional stethoscope. The other thing it has is this body here, and when you hit this toggle, then the toggle makes it a digital. And I wanted to cover some of the details, the descriptions of what this particular stethoscope does. So I have it on my iPad. It has up to 40 times the amplification, which helps you with subtle sounds, heart sound, bowel sounds, and lung sounds. It has active noise cancellation, which cuts out background noise, and it just allows you to hear through the stethoscope. And it has soft sealing ear tips right here. And yeah, they're really nice. It kind of creates kind of a vacuum in your ear canal. This is great for somebody who has hearing, but for me, this doesn't really apply to me. I'm not going to use the earpiece on when I'm using this stethoscope. It has multiple listening modes. So the first thing they say here is to toggle it. When it's not turned on, it is an analog stethoscope. And then when I turn it on, you'll see a little light that flashes, and that makes it a digital stethoscope. It has a diaphragm and a bell part to the stethoscope. You can use it as an adult stethoscope or a pediatric stethoscope, looking for any high or low frequency sounds that you want to hear. And then it connects to the Echo software. And this is the part that sparks my interest. It has Bluetooth wireless connectivity, pairing with a variety of different mobile devices. And you can record and save sounds with this software. The design of the stethoscope for comfort. That still doesn't apply to me because I don't use the earpiece and all that kind of stuff, because it's talking about the direction of the earpiece that goes kind of in an angle, and that way it can go into your canal and fit nice and snug, but that doesn't apply to me. And the last thing I have here is capture, analyze, and share. And this is FDA cleared stethoscope, which is cool, and it works with the Echo software that I just mentioned. The Echo software itself is HIPAA compliant. It saves up to 15, 30, 60, and 120-second recordings in a secure dashboard. You can use this to monitor progressions of your patients, sounds, whatever you're trying to monitor. You can use it for education for other clinicians or students, and it can be securely shared with colleagues. They mentioned something about an artificial intelligence to detect murmurs, but you need a subscription for that, and it's only available to the US, but I'm not going to cover that because that's not something I'm going to be talking about. All right, so those are all the features of this stethoscope. So it has a lot of different neat things that you can do with this stethoscope. As I mentioned, the core stethoscope itself, if you buy this, it's $349. It's a hefty price tag. So if you cannot afford this, then you can go ahead and not order it. Put it off to the side, go on the website, and you can go ahead and order the Echo Core attachment. So this one actually says Echo on it. And this one is essentially the same thing as this on the Echo. This is an attachment that you can buy separately. This is $199 on the website anyway. And this whole stethoscope with the tubing and everything with the diaphragm and bell is $349. But the way that this thing feels and works so far, I think it's worth the price. This, you can attach it to your already existing stethoscope that you have. With this one, I have tried it with my Audiologist 3, and I also tried to a kind of cheap stethoscope I had from work, an adult one, and it does work. However, the pediatric one, I had a hard time trying to disconnect this guy in order to put the pediatric end in there. I'm going to be sharing a picture that I posted that I used to kind of understand how to connect the core part of it to a stethoscope that is not the core stethoscope. For an example, I took all of this apart and I essentially had two bodies. So I took two bodies and I separated them, and I attached one to an adult one, and then I attached one to a pediatric. I should say I didn't actually attach the one to pediatric because I couldn't get this thing off. I actually tried, and I kind of I ruined the thread on this. It's a little shiny, and you can see that it's a little rough now. So I'm not going to bother using the pediatric. I usually don't anyway, because on this particular stethoscope, and even the one that I have in the picture, I have the bell and the diaphragm. The only difference as far as connecting with the standard connectors to the pediatric connectors is that the standard is used for the thicker tubing. So this one's pretty thick. And then we have the pediatric one, which has a really thin tubing. So that's what I have for that for right now. But anyway, this is so much fun. I'm going to put my core off to the side. What you'll need for this setup is going to be the T-coil. Now, understanding the T-coil is in your hearing aid, but it does need to be activated by your audiologist. Sometimes they don't automatically activate it unless you ask for it, so you might want them to activate it. First thing you need to have is your hearing aid that does not have Bluetooth technology in it, like this one for me. This is my Phonak Cross 2. I have a hearing aid and a transmitter, but there is no Bluetooth in it. And the only way that I can actually connect to the stethoscope is coming up. First thing you need is your hearing aids. Then you will need your phone. And then you will also need your streamer, whatever streamer you have. I'm using the Phonak Pilot 2. And then I'm using that because I have Phonak hearing aids. And then the last thing you need, of course, is the stethoscope. I'm going to go ahead and just use my core stethoscope. I'm not going to use the attachment. So now I have my stethoscope. Now I'm going to put it around my neck, just like this. I'm not going to be using this piece here, the earpiece that goes in my ears, because I don't hear that way, because I want to be able to keep my hearing aids in at all times. If I choose to try to listen to this without my hearing aids, so you have to understand this. Imagine this. Hi, I want to be able to listen to your lung sound. Hold on while I take my hearing aids out. You take them out, they're whistling like crazy. Then you have to push your buttons. I don't know if they're off. Imagine trying to do this when you're trying to tell the patient, hold on. All right, so I took my hearing aids out. They're off to the side now. Hopefully they're not whistling because I can't hear. So I take my hearing aids out, put the stethoscope in my ears like a regular stethoscope that's nice and snug in there, and then I go ahead and do the best I can to listen. I can hear a little bit, but if I were to listen to actual sounds, barely. If I turn on the digital part of it with the flashing light going on, I can hear it. Then I can turn up the volume on it as far as I can go, because I have severe profound hearing loss. I can hear it. And then I'm going to try to listen to my heart. No, I wouldn't use this, but this is how you could use it if you have mild to moderate hearing loss. This might work fine for you. But the fact that you have to take a hearing aid out, make all kinds of whistling sounds, turn them off, and put them someplace where they're not going to get damaged, like your pocket, on your table, and whatnot. It's not. I used to do that a long time ago when my hearing wasn't as bad, but I don't do that anymore. So here we go. I'm going to put this around my neck again. I'm going to put my hearing aids that do not have Bluetooth in it. I have to remind myself to say it because it gets confusing. So my hearing aids are making all kinds of noise. Ding dong, ding dong. Ready to roll. And with my Phonak Cross 2, I have a hearing aid in my right ear, and that's the one that's going to take all the sound, and it doesn't work with the transmitter. We got the stethoscope, the phone, and now we get our streamer. When you put this loop around your neck, it is an electromagnetic field that's created around your neck. Try not to hit the mic. Here we go. When I turn this on, this creates that field and connects to the T-coil. And then this has Bluetooth in it. When I turn it on and it says, pilot on, I have already downloaded the Echo app onto my phone. We're going to go ahead and open that up. So now I have to make sure that the Echo stethoscope is on digital. So I'm going to hit this toggle. Make sure the light's flashing. There it goes. On flashing. And then I can go ahead and connect device. So let me do this here so that I can show you what I'm doing. All right, so I have the Echo app open. I'm going to connect to device. Searching, and it looks for this B2FB. That's my core. I click on that, and now it's looking for it. Then I can go ahead and tap on it, and it's actually working. Let's go ahead and try it. So I'm going to stop that recording. Okay, so now I have the stethoscope, which is working directly to my hearing aid, but it's working through my streamer to Bluetooth. So if you do not have Bluetooth in your hearing aid, but you have a streamer like myself that has Bluetooth in it. So the cord that goes around your neck is connecting to your T-coil. The streamer itself is connecting to the phone, to the Echo stethoscope. And now we're going to go ahead and check out how we can get rid of the streamer to, have one less step to this process. Now that I put everything aside, I know that the new hearing aids I'm trialing right now is the Phonak Paradise, and this has Bluetooth technology in it. I have a hearing aid on both sides now, so I'm trying a whole different way of learning to hear. These have Bluetooth in it. I took the streamer off. It is off to the side. I'm going to take my old hearing aids off. These are the ones that do not have Bluetooth in it. Take that off to the side, and then I can go ahead and put my new hearing aids in, and I gotta wait forever to turn on. I've done this before on my other videos. Ding, 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 ding. There they are. They're working. Okay, I can do the same thing. put the stethoscope around my neck. Just get my phone. I have the Echo software in there. I'm going to go ahead and open it. So here we go. I'm back on my device. I have to connect. So I have to turn on the stethoscope again, hit the connect, and it's already connected. I hear it directly into my new hearing aids that I'm trialing. And I can record it here if I want to, so I can review it later, or if I have anything I want to show somebody or discuss with somebody as far as lung sounds, heart sounds, vowel sounds, I can do that because I can save and I can share it securely with my colleagues. Those are the two ways you can do it. The first one is if you do not have Bluetooth in your hearing aids, but you have a streamer that goes around your neck that creates that electromagnetic field that connects to the T-coil, which needs to be activated by your audiologist, and the streamer itself has Bluetooth. And then the Bluetooth can connect to the phone and it goes directly to your hearing aids. That's option one. The second option is hearing aids that have Bluetooth in it. That gets connected directly to the app itself through the stethoscope. So there you go. Let's turn this baby off. So that covers both of those options, T-coil or Bluetooth, to the Echo Core stethoscope. Or if you can't afford this $349 stethoscope, buy the Echo Core attachment, and you can go ahead and attach it to a regular stethoscope. All right, so the next thing I want to talk about is how to connect the core attachment to an already existing stethoscope that you own. $199 versus the $349 for the whole core digital stethoscope setup. This is just the attachment, which has the same body in it, no different from that body. When you get the Echo attachment, it has two connectors. It has a standard connector and it has a pediatric connector. And the only real difference about these connectors, for me anyway, has been whether I have a thick tube or a thin tube. If you have a pediatric stethoscope that's just a pediatric, and then you have an adult one that just has a diaphragm and no bell, then this would be something that you would want to consider. But for me, that's not the case because I have a bell and a diaphragm on all my stethoscopes, so I can use it as a pediatric or an adult one. This is the standard connector, has a thread, and then the other side is to connect to tubing. It's pretty thick. And then the pediatric one has one that has the same thread, but a little bit smaller. So you can see the difference here. There's one that's big and one that's smaller. So that's what the standard and pediatric, the difference is. And really, the only difference is the size of the actual tubing itself. So as you can see, these guys are relatively different. This one's thicker, this one's thinner. So I'm only going to be using this guy. This is the bigger one. This is my Cardiology 3 that I bought a long time ago. And this is what it looks like with the orange. So we can keep it separate from the core stethoscopes. All of my stethoscopes are blacks apparently. So here we go. So there it is. So I just take off the head. And then when we have the attachment here, we take this piece and we just thread it right in there like that. So you have two ends that you can attach tubing to. And that's essentially all you're doing. But as you can tell, this has threading on one side and this has threading on one side. So how are you going to connect that? So they gave you a little bit of a piece of tubing that you can connect to one end here, and then the other end can go right there. So that's what that extra tubing is. Go ahead and put that all on together. Once you put this on, it gets pretty tight. It's very hard to take off. One way I found, without using pliers, to damage the threading, as you can probably see, there's some marks on there. I just ran this over a really hot water, just getting the tubing itself, keep away from any water getting into the body and the head of the stethoscope. And then eventually the tubing will expand and you're able to pull it apart. So that's just something to think about. And then the other end goes to this part here, tubing over to the earpieces. So that's with the old stethoscope with the Echo attachment. And it works pretty well. I can take this off and leave this just like this because I don't use the earpiece and I can put it in my pocket from when I'm working outside. But if I'm working in the clinic, I like to have this because it's easier for me to just kind of put it around my neck and know that I always have it and look a professional. Anyway, as far as the pediatric one, I had a hard time trying to get one of the sides off, so I didn't even bother because I'm not going to be using a thinner tube. But I did want to show you real quick what that essentially would look like. Now, the stethoscope I have, the thin tube I have, is not really a pediatric stethoscope, but I just found one thin so I could show you. I was getting confused because all my stethoscopes are black, so they're all black, so I put some colored tape on here to kind of give it a code to each one. The orange one is my Cardiology 3, the yellow one is pediatric tubing, just tiny, and then this one's the actual core tubing that I got with my core stethoscope. But that's why I have all these color-coded. And I want the yellow one because I know I want to show you the pediatric one now. Throw those off to the side. This isn't really a pediatric stethoscope, but I wanted to show you the thin. So I took the head off of the thin tubing. And essentially, we need to figure out how to reattach it with the core in the middle of it. So as you can see, there is really no way to connect this. So how am I going to connect it? They give you this piece that has tubing in it. This is the end I had a difficult time with. This is the pediatric ones, much, much smaller than that, and it would be able to fit this particular tubing into it. But I can't get this off. I tried it with pliers and but I caused some threading issues on my thing, so I didn't want to try too hard. But if I could get this off, I could put this in here, and essentially this would replace this like this, and then I could put the tubing in. I could put the tubing in like that. So that would be a smaller tube for pediatric. Thank gosh I don't have to use that one. I am going to go ahead and just continue using my thicker one. Okay, so that's it for this video. A lot of information in one. And I'm going to go ahead and create another video about the Think Labs Stethoscope next week. And that's going to be connecting through a streamer. And the following video is going to be about how to connect the Think Labs to Bluetooth. So those are two separate videos. Makes it a little easier to separate them because this one was quite long. Okay, so if you like this information or this content, go ahead and hit the like button and subscribe and hit the notification button so you know about the next videos that are coming up. They're going to be great. All right, take care.